Hi friends, let's make some milk bread, otherwise known as shokupan. Oh, it makes me so happy to make this bread. Look at me, I'm even laughing here. So we're going to start by making the tangzu, which is the roux that really gives this bread its incredible springy texture. So I'm going to measure out some water and then some flour, and we're going to mix it into a paste. I like to do this a day in advance because this recipe is long, just like this video. And to do it in advance helps because you want to make sure that the tangzu is at room temperature when you start. All of your ingredients need to be at room temperature when you start making this bread. Temperature is extremely important. And it takes a little while for it to cool down. So rather than wait for it to start, I'll usually do it a day before and then pull it out as I am getting all my other ingredients together, and it'll be at room temp by the time I start. So little bitty pan. Then I'm going to put it at about medium-high heat, and I'm going to start whisking. You're going to stay with it. No texting. Stay with it until it gets to about this texture right here. And you want the color to be that kind of creaminess. You don't want to take it any further than that. So I'm just going to load this into a deli, and today I'm going to throw it into the freezer because I'm trying to move fast. And that just kind of helps me to get it down to room temp in about 5 to 8 minutes. So next, I'm going to measure out all my ingredients. I am using my gram scale. And so I'm going to put my mixing bowl on there, and then I'm going to hit the zero out. Today, I'm using a combination of bread flour and AP flour. No exact ratio there. I just like to use both. And sometimes it's what I have on hand, too. If I don't have bread flour, I'll use AP. You get the drift. Next, I'm going to zero it back out, and I'm going to add 10 grams of milk powder and 10 grams of my instant yeast. Again, using the gram scale just really helps because you can put everything into your actual mixing bowl rather than having to measure everything out in little bitty bits. So I'm going to open up my egg so I can get that up to room temp as well. And then my milk. So I usually just leave my milk out while I'm prepping everything. So making sure, because milk will stay cold for quite a while. And my butter, 50 grams. So then lastly, I'm going to measure out my salt and my sugar. It's definitely a more sugar than salt recipe, so make sure you don't get them mixed up. I have done that before. And now we're going to go for our first mix. So all of my dry ingredients plus my egg and my milk and then my tangzu, which by this point, it's pretty much at room temp. You can tell by the texture of it as I bring it out. It's not fully solidified yet. But either way is fine. If it all comes out in one little puck, no problem. So let's talk a little bit about the history of this bread in Japan. I mean, it is just truly eponymous. Everywhere you go, there's incredible pastries in Japan, and the smell of shokupan is everywhere. It's just delightful. I mean, to say that I've had one of the best sandwiches of my life at 7-Eleven seems like an oxymoron, but it's true. So this is my first mix, and then I'm going to add my butter, and I'm going to stay with it for a minute because I really don't want to go more than a couple of minutes to make sure that I get all of that butter in. At this point, I don't want to over mix. Oops, a little bit of butter back in. Get everybody in there. It's going to look a little bit like a scraggly ball, but we're just going to pull a little ball together and a towel over it, and then I'm going to put it in a nice warm place for it to rise for the next 60 minutes. Our first rise is done. You can see the kind of texture there. Then I'm going to add my dough hook, and away we go for our second mix. This time, I'm adding salt and sugar. You want to sprinkle it all the way around, just helps in the mixing. And you're going to get your mixer up to pretty high, and you're going to go for 10 minutes solid. Now, the texture is going to change throughout, but at the end, it should come together like this. Kind of a nice, glossy, sticky ball. I'm going to add a little bit of oil to my bowl, and then I'm going to move my dough ball into this glass so that it can rise for the next 60 minutes. The safest place in my house to proof a dough is in the oven, as long as I haven't been using the oven that day. The pilot light really is the perfect temperature for rising, so that's what I'm going to do. Now it's out, and it's definitely double the size. Now comes the fun part. We get to beat it down. There's no massive technique to this, you guys. It's not like sourdough. You're just going to pat it down, make sure that it's got a little bit of flour on every side. I like to kind of pull and fold, which I think really helps. You'll see in a moment that that's what you're going to do with the smaller dough balls. So I'm going to cut this into 5 portions. This is just slightly too much dough for one Pullman pan. So I usually leave about 1/5 out, and I'll either make a smaller batch, or sometimes I even make hamburger buns, which is fun too. So you can see I'm going to stretch, pull, fold, and pinch. Let's do it again. Stretch, fold to the middle, fold to the middle, stretch, fold to the middle, pinch. And you want 4 to 5 dough balls to go in your Pullman pan. A little bit of oil. And then you're going to nestle those guys right in there. They don't need to be right next to each other because they're going to rise in this pan for the next 60 minutes. Now you can put the top on, but sometimes your rise might go a little further and it might get a little trapped on the top. It's up to you. Then after 60 minutes, it goes in the tank at 355 for 25 minutes. So you can see my little baby one there. The baby Pullman pan is a pretty good trick, guys. Amazing for toast and appetizers. You really want to let this cool down all the way in the pan. It's really hard. You're going to smell that beautiful, beautiful SHOKUPAN. There she is. And it's going to be hard to resist, but please resist, because you won't be able to cut into this until it is fully cooled down. So what are you going to do with your beautiful SHOKUPAN? Let's see. Toast, Texas toast, French toast, and the eponymous sando. I can't wait to see what you guys do with this bread, and I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to pelt me with questions. I'm here for you. And listen, I'm not an expert baker. Some of you may actually find better ways to make this bread, and I'm okay with that. But let me know what you think. Enjoy it, and please don't blame me if you go up a pant size.